Thanks very much, Speaker, and I thank the member for Moreton for the question, and I recognise his long-standing advocacy on this issue for those in his community, but right around the country on this, which is basically an issue of fundamental fairness, an expression of our values, values we share with our friends over the ditch in New Zealand. Now, Speaker, ours is a country that has been built by citizenship, which is, of course, that common bond that unites all of us, those of us who became Australians by birth or those who became Australian by choice. This lies at the heart of a unified, cohesive and inclusive nation. Now, back in 2001, changes made by the Howard government made it much more difficult for New Zealanders in Australia to attain citizenship. And this had the long-term impact of creating a generation of permanently temporary migrants in our country. Now, we recognise that there are many New Zealanders here on special category visas who've been stuck without a clear pathway to citizenship, despite their contribution, raising their families here, working, paying taxes, contributing in voluntary capacities and building lives in Australia. And through my entire time in Parliament, Speaker, I've been engaging with this community and listening to their stories, some of which are very challenging, particularly in terms of some of the children in these families. And I want to acknowledge all of them who've been telling these stories, sharing them with me and my colleagues, in particular the Treasurer and the Minister for Home Affairs, who have been relentless advocates for their cause. I also want to recognise Oz Kiwi, the organisation that has brought together this story. Now, we've listened, and of course, under Prime Minister Albanese, we have acted. And from 1 July, New Zealand citizens living in Australia will now have a direct pathway to Australian citizenship. All special category visa holders will be able to apply directly for citizenship as long as they meet the residence and other requirements. Now, these are changes that reflect the closeness of our relationship. It's a fair change, and importantly, it reflects the circumstances of Australians living in New Zealand. It is important to note that as a result of this change, eligible applicants will not be considered Australian residents as defined under the Social Security Act. But this will enhance people's economic and social integration into the community and provide additional opportunities, particularly for young people thinking about further study and, of course, for involvement in the ADF and the Australian Public Service. Mr Speaker, we are prepared for these changes next month because we've done so much work dealing with the citizenship backlog. As I've informed the House previously, we've slashed processing times. There's more to be done in this respect, but the caseload of citizenship applications is now at its lowest level for more than 6 years.